Miracle Inspiration Call. My name is Robin Lee, and I am your host today. And Katie Amadio is our co-host, and I'm so excited to have you all here today. This is my birthday month, and so every September I have been doing 30 days of It's Great to Be Alive. And so I wanted to do this call as part of my 30-day celebration, talking about how it's great to be alive. And I didn't always think so all the time. So it's really fun now that I've decided it is really great to be alive. And loving to share that with all of you today. I am first going to go ahead and share the disclaimer that what we share is for informational purposes only, and it's not intended to treat, diagnose, or any medical condition. At the same time, you will absolutely see life-changing results if you implement the ancient secrets. So you might want to talk to your doctor if you need to reduce your meds. So with that, why don't we go ahead and have Ariana give our announcements before I forget?
I would love to do that. And before I do that, happy birthday, Robin. And we have another birthday in the audience, Beverly. Happy birthday. And to anyone else whose birthday, let's just give a blast of love to the birthday people. Wonderful. Great to see all your shining faces out there. All right, announcements. So let's see here. We have the launch of Love, Music, and Poetry Project. Is Jerem on the call? Do you want to say anything about that, Jerem? Hi, Jerem.
Thanks, Ariana. Just unmuting here. Yeah, so we've gotten a very nice amount of donations through the project, and we're getting ready for the second call, where we'll have much more wonderful music and poetry on the 21st. And it's feeling exciting, and we've gotten wonderful reviews from people about their experience of enjoying the music from the collection number 1. So thank you all for the support, and I'll hand it back to you, Ariana.
Actually, I have a question for you, Jerem. So
Sure.
I was wondering, because I myself had difficulty finding where the donation site is. Maybe could you repeat where exactly, how do we navigate on the My Ancient Secrets site, or where exactly are we going in order to make that donation?
Well, what we're recommending is just to go to ancientsecretsfoundation.org, make a donation. And some people have mentioned that there is a place that you can designate that it's for the project. So just putting love, love, music, and poetry project as the designation for your donation. And then just let us know, and we'll send you the wonderful compositions by our creative Ancient Secrets people.
I think love medicine was exactly what you meant to say.
Right. Thanks, Katie. Yeah. Okay. Does that answer your question, Ariana?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And let's see what else. We have a new Ancient Secrets Healing Center in Nepal. And there's more information in the newsletter on that. Also, we have Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. The Hebrew translation is now published and available. And also upcoming some other events. We Rise as One. This is an event put on by Gary Malkin and Hope. And it's a celebration of connection, compassion, and hope. And it will be on September the 27th. And that is at the Grace, I believe, let's see here, the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. So if you're there, anywhere near there, you'll be able to attend that. Also, we have our Ancient Secrets 101 class, which is self-guided. We have a few self-guided classes. I'll just go ahead and list them. They're also in the newsletter if you want more information. Ancient Secrets 101, Ancient Secrets 100 Day Experience, an awesome class. It's self-guided. 30-day delicious detox self-guided, and the 7-day delicious detox self-guided. All of these classes are well worth looking into. And let's see, we also have Pete's Race to 100 and helping to build a bridge to a brighter future for the orphans in Nepal. And that you can get more information. There's a link on the newsletter as well. And I think that's it. Am I missing anything? Anybody? Katie? Oh, good. Awesome. All right, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Ariana. Okay. So, one of my inspirations for this call, it combining, we always have a quote of the for the call, and I'm going to share that with you. God is within each of us, and we all have a purpose to discover. And this is from Baba Ram Das, Dr. Naram's master teacher. And I found this to be a really appropriate quote because part of when it's great to be alive, part of us is that we're in touch with what it is that we're supposed to be doing on this planet. And so, so I really thought this was a great quote to have on today. And maybe I want to just start by sharing a little bit about why I have this particular theme on my birthday. So when I learned that we have immortal genes back when I was like 21, I'm like, oh, like that sounds really fun to be able to learn how to be able to turn on those longevity genes. And if we get clean enough in our soul, as I understand it, then that is when you can actually extend your quality of life. When my mom became chemically sensitive, like overnight, she couldn't eat a single thing out of the family grocery store because nothing was organic. But we found, besides doing the nutrition stuff, she had to clear out this super traumatic childhood that had been completely repressed, all of the physical and emotional abuse that she had experienced that had been completely repressed. And as she uncovered and released those traumatic memories, then that was how she got better, besides cleaning all the plastic out of the house and cleaning up the diet and stuff. And so when I learned about the potential of living forever, then I knew part of it was being able to clean out the emotional baggage, right? And so one of my favorite marmas is the forgive and let go. And so why don't we go ahead and do that and just, think about any layers of stuff. And I love that Carol Ray, who is not here today, I believe, she brought up that as she keeps doing this, deeper layers are coming to her of things that she thought she had addressed. And as they come up, she's able to look at them from the new vantage point of a DT Devabhava, treating the unexpected as if God himself or herself has arrived. And so we can always wind up looking at our life experiences from a new vantage point, and what have we learned from those things that maybe were not the best experiences we thought when we had them. And so why don't we go ahead and do the forgive and let go. So it's on the left hand, you're going to be pressing the point, and if you kind of dig around in the webbing between your thumb and index finger and find a point that is painful. And when you get that point, then press 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 6 sets of 6. So 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So part of, I mentioned that I didn't always think it was so great to be alive. I don't know, at the time I didn't know, but like when I was 9 years old, I hated being a girl. I didn't know why. And as I got on my spiritual journey, I realized that it was as I would have flashes of past lives start to come up. I had a lot of really horrible experiences in China, in India, and when you're a girl in a poor family with lots of kids in those countries, you can really have some bad experiences. And so part of my journey has been learning how to love the body that I'm in. And as I have cleared up and released those past memories and challenges, then I've realized that my body is, it's this beautiful vessel that I came in specifically to get over the stuff that I had, the unfinished business in my soul, where I would just like get infuriated. I had, at one point, I wound up having this flash that I had 5 lifetimes in a row dying from insufficient dowry in India. And I would come back to try and change it. And it would happen again. And I'd come back to try and change, and it would happen again. And it created such a hopelessness that things would ever change for women in India. That's actually why I didn't go to India the first 2 times during the PATH program, because I didn't like India. I had real issues. So I was super excited that by last year, I was actually had cleared up enough baggage so that I could go to India. So that's one of the things that I, as I get clearer, I love life more and more. There's less issues and more possibility in life. And so, Katie, would you like to share a little bit about your life? Because I know when we talked, I'm like, oh, I would love to have you as my co-host on this one.
Yeah, well, so how this came about is we were in a breakout room together, and we ended up sharing our past ambivalence about being here, which I have had for most of my life, because I had a lot of sexual and emotional abuse as a child, and was not thrilled about being here, and definitely wanted out. And I was sharing with Robin that the first time I remember trying to leave was I was about 9 years old, and I ate a whole bottle of baby aspirin, which was I did not meet my goal because I'm still here. I got really sick, and but just it was a consistent theme through most of my life, early adulthood, and even into my 30s. And more recently than that, where I felt like, if I was done, if my life was done, that would be okay. And it's so we all have a purpose. You always, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Well, I knew that at the base of all of that, of all of that unhappiness and depression and addiction, part of me still really, really wanted to live. And as I've mentioned before, I can be very stubborn. And I'm really thankful to that inner light and spirit that just would not give up and would not let me let go of this life, because my purpose for a long time was to heal. And when Robin talks about her mom and her trauma and needing to clear that out, I know I got in such terrible physical shape a lot because I had so much that I needed to deal with. And I've done tons and tons of therapy, all kinds of therapy. And um, it really, I wanted to be a mom. I knew that one could be a better mom than the mom that I had. And I got to do that, for which I am incredibly thankful. Being the mother to my two adult children, now adult children, was just such a gift and a true miracle to have the family that I have, my husband and our children, and the relationships that we have. I never, ever, ever would have believed that that was possible when I was a child, that I could experience that could be real. And then coming into this community where, this Marma helped so much. And I know Dr. Clint recommended it for me after my first consultation with him. And I didn't see that recommendation for a year afterwards. And I was looking over the notes and I was like, oh, the Forgive and Forget Marma. It's made a huge, huge difference in my life. And now I love my life. I love being alive. I love, um, it's just like joy. Joy is a real thing. You can live in joy and trust and surrender. And it's been a long time coming. I'm so thankful to each and every person who shows up on these calls, because this is such a safe place to get to have a heart and share my heart. And it never, growing up, it wasn't safe to love or to be the loving person that I feel like I came here to be. And you all have loved and supported me into being able to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie. That was amazing to hear more about your story and the way we can transform things, because those challenges that we have, they have a purpose, that when we learn how to get beyond it, then that's part of our growth, our spiritual strength. I had a sister who hated me the whole time we were growing up, and I didn't know that until she actually told me that, uh, maybe 2014-ish. And but she says, don't take it personally, because I hated my whole life. I hated mom and dad for having me. There was a lot of baggage on her side, but I have been still dealing with the repercussions of having grown up with hateful energy coming at me, and the impact on my self-worth and stuff. But then I started to think about it as, my sister exists so that I could have that particular sisterly experience. And it has had, it's like, I have to know that I'm worth loving myself, regardless of that, And so I had very loving parents, and it was like I had this balance of the loving, I can do anything I want, and then I have this one little area that was a challenge that has pressed me. And now one of the things, if I have any feeling of animosity, I just rub my hands together and I send love in that direction, and it all melts. Like, you cannot be putting out love the way we do in this community and not transform whatever was presenting in a a negative way. And so I think that's one of the things that's helped me in my, getting to be everything being great to be alive. Um, so let's see, who else would like to share? Let's see. Maybe Ariana, would you like to share? I know that you have some
Sure, I can share. Yeah. What do I want to share? I had a very colorful life. I got lots of stories. I don't know which one, which one's the most fitting one to tell at this point. Maybe just a generalization, right? So, I grew up, my parents were alcoholics and, just, a lot of emotional abuse, a little physical, but not a whole lot. I mean, I guess I have kind of a tough character. So, my dad had thrown me in the wall and slapped me around a little bit, but for some reason, I don't know, for some reason that didn't bug me as much as some of the other stuff did. Um, but I had a few real traumatic things that I had to release in my past. Um, I think eh, without getting into details, I think the hardest one for me out of all of them, and those are not just traumas at home. I had a lot of traumas in other places. But the one that was the hardest when I was young, was my dad had a drunken evening and he killed my dog. And my dog was my dear friend because I grew up, my parents were older and my dad didn't want to have kids. And so no kids were allowed to come over. So for the first 5 years of my life, and my mother just loved me. She was a sweetheart. Thank God. I don't know where I'd been. I didn't have my mom because she did really love me. Um, but when I was 13, and I was always a good girl, little Halo, oh, isn't she cute? I was that kind of little girl. My dad was never really around. He was working, he was kind of a workaholic. And so when I was 13, he um he was really drunk one night and the dog had gotten older. He was a little poodle and he was my friend. He was my one and only friend, right? He actually came to me from somewhere else in the neighborhood and we adopted him. And so it was just horrendous, right? Here I am, this little girl, and and I hear my dog squealing outside, screaming, and I'm watching a show at that time. It was called Father Knows Best, believe it or not. The irony in my life and the little symbols that were hanging around when I look back, it's just phenomenal. And I'm like, Father knows best. I don't think Father knows best. You think? And so I went out to try to do something, and my mom, who was very drunk at the time, and she was didn't have any power. I didn't have any respect for my mom because she didn't own her power. And she wasn't owning her power. She's and kind of enabling it. Just go back in and watch your show. Everything will be okay. That kind of thing. So I went back in the room because I was the good little girl. And I stood and I watched Father Knows Best. And I heard my dog screaming some more. And something rose out of me like you can't believe. The dragon came out. The Kundalini rose. Something came out of sweet little Ariana and just went, this is not right. This is not okay. And so I went running out, stopped my dad. My dog was really hurt and he had to be put to sleep. Uh, but he'd crushed him in the gate. I won't go into it. Bottom line is, let's just say it was super traumatic. But I told my dad what I thought that night and I stood up to him and I thought he'd kill me. I did. I thought he'd kill me. But I didn't care because I was going to stand for what was right and just. And so I guess what I could say is this sounds terrible. It was terrible. It was so traumatic. I didn't know. I stuffed it for years till I was about 21. And I went to a training called Earhart Seminar Training, which is the early birthplace of Landmark Forum. And thank you for that, Werner Earhart, because I got to see that that was a buried memory and it came up, and I finally started addressing a lot of things in my being from that. So that was a godsend. But, so the picture I really want to paint at this point is that was a landmark event in my life. Was it traumatic? You bet. But it made me who I am. It was the first time I'd ever my power within my being rose up in me. And I never was the same person again. I went through a lot of transformations, but I'm so thankful to my dad in that experience. I mean, it's a weird, kind of a weird Atiti de Wabawa, but man, was that powerful for me in my life. I learned how to take a stand for myself. I mean, I could meet anybody, I don't care who they are. I'm not intimidated when I'm in that mode. I could walk through the dark streets of South America in black alleys where terrible things were happening, and I could bring up that power when I needed it, and I could hold steadfast to that. And I can't tell you, it made a huge difference in my life. But processing those things are so important, because every time I processed a trauma in my life, more and more light came into my being. I mean, I am happy. I love my life. There's been a lot of stuff. I mean, I've been raped and almost murdered in another country. I've had lots of stuff, right? But none of it now is even serious to me. It happened and I learned from it. Yeah, was it hard at the time? Yeah, but there was always another side to everything, which is so important when we live this life, to live it to the fullest. I mean, always there's light on the other side of this stuff. You just have to be devoted to growing. Yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ariana. And I know, so actually, those triggers, I had a trigger last week whenever a friend of ours went into the hospital, into the ER. I actually had two friends on that same day go to ER. And it was a real wake-up call for me, because I know all of this stuff and I have not been sharing it. And so part of, when I chose this particular quote, God is within each of us and we all have a purpose to discover. I love being an artist. This is some of my handmade tiles behind me here. And but I had a business trainer once point to my art, and she says, "That's your mission." And I said, I love being an artist, but I can't just be an artist while the world falls apart around me. Like, if I know how to help people, I have to share that. It's, that's part of my mission and purpose. And so these two friends going into the hospital on the same day really inspired me that I have to get my my course out that I'm working on, helping people learn what to do for their health and to clean up their house, and so that they don't have to have traumatic health incidences. So they have to do this like major overhaul like my mom did. I'm like, if we can just do baby step changes, that is, in my opinion, can make it easier to start loving life more. We don't all have to have those big major things, although sometimes, we do need the big wake up calls. And anything like Ariana is, what do I want to ask here? Have you found across your learning, I know that we've been in the same spiritual school and things, do you find it gets easier to handle stuff?
You're frozen. We'll give her a minute to get back here. Am I
And
frozen too?
my
There
process
you
of
go.
getting-
There you go.
Can you repeat, Robin? Because you froze.
Oh, I was thinking that you froze. All right. Um,
Maybe I did.
so maybe it's my internet that's being a little slow. I was just wondering, for you, has it gotten easier? Because I know for me, as especially because I know EFT and emotion code and various different ways to clear out stuff besides the forgive and let go, Marma. Um, it gets easier to clear out heavier stuff because
Yeah.
you know that you know how much lighter it's going to be on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think from the very first thing, when I started, with that whole Earhart seminar training thing, that was the first real big push at my transformation. But then it was just so many things. I guess because of a lot of different traumas, um, I really put my head to the grindstone. It was like I was like a vacuum cleaner. What can I pull up? What workshop? What thing can I do? What discipline? And then I went to, of course, our spiritual teaching where it was very hard school. And I went in the early days where it was incredibly hard, but I had this will to push myself to the limits and to get inside my brain and clear it out. And it took that focus and that will to get through a lot of the different things that I had to get through. And just through the years of continually, it was always more. Yeah, I used to think, okay, I've done all my work. I feel happy now. And then it's like, oh, there's another layer. Here's another little something. And so that work doesn't stop, but it does. It gets, I mean, I truly am happy and joyful. I truly am. Some people that know my life, they're like, oh, how did you do that? It's like, hey, you just do it. You just do it. You take one step in front of the other. You get a vision of who it is you want to be. Like, who's the ideal? What's your ideal? Like, who do you want to be in 5 years? Do you want to be someone who's just like you got wings, you just are living life, you love life, you're joyful and happy, and you're so joyful and happy it just spreads to everybody you come in contact with. That's possible for everybody in this audience. That's possible for everybody in this audience. Every single person. You have it in you already to do that with your life. You know, you could be in therapy for years. And, sometimes that's really good, but it's good to get some variety. Pull in some other stuff. Just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to get through this. I want to be here. That's my goal. I want to be that person. I want to be that person. And that may look like, wow, how would I do that? That seems so far away. It isn't far away. It's right here. It's right here around you. It's just choices you're making, and it's so possible. It's really, really possible. And it's easier and easier. I mean, now, like I can tell some of the stories and you'll see me kind of almost laugh because it's a no thing. It is no thing to me anymore. It's an experience. And thank God I had them all. It may be who I am. And I love who I am, you know.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much, Ariana. Beautiful. And it's so, so valuable, the things that you've shared. Thank you. So we'll take Nehemiah next. And I also want to say, anybody who wants to share what you feel like, if you have discovered your purpose, you can share that as well as anything about what what makes it so that you feel like it's great to be alive. Nehemiah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. First, I want to, with admiration, I want to take my Yarmulka Jewish Muslim hats down to everybody that shares so far. So powerful. The second thing I want to say is, before I share about myself, that according to the powerful, for me, most inclusive spiritual philosophy that I have learned for the last 50 years, and I learned many of them, called Kashmir Shivism, coming from the mountain of the Himalayas. We have 4 divine Shakti powers, and one of them is called Icha Shakti, divine power of will. The people who shared before me, I mean, you took a bunch of this divine power and manifested it. So I want to honor you before I say anything about myself. And now, as for me, I contemplated because my life is so rich with the worst and the best. And I decided to share the best, my experience of awakening, because someone before me, I think it was Rana, shared about the Kundalini awakening. So I'm not sharing with you my Kundalini awakening because it was very subtle on the shore of the Red Sea. 2 people introduced me to a mantra and something from a master from long distance. I didn't believe in it, but it manifested in London, many miles away. So I'll try to make it really short because I'm going to write a book which will be that heavy, and then I'll have to cut it short from my life. There's so much happened in my life, such a tapestry. So at any event, this big experience, I finished a 24 hours marathon of encounter where everybody was abusing me because I was a scapegoat, because I was so full of fear. I wanted to commit suicide because I didn't want to physically. I did try when I was younger, but this time I just was. I can't live anymore. I can't even stand for myself. And then, I was full of self-hate because how could I have let people use me as a dumping ground, like being the bully, the scapegoat for so many years? And by then I was 28. Everywhere I went, people find me easy because I was so full of fear and guilt. Everybody could dump on me. So I was lying down, I was like that. And something told me, instead of going and give it back to the group or something like that, or to think about, to lie down and meditate on it. I never, even though I was introduced before that to masters of meditation, to the students in the Sinai Desert, I never connected to meditate, but I said, okay, lie down and meditate. So I lie down and I was full of hate. Now the hate came out. I was a tree of hate. Before that, actually, I listened to the Ninth of Beethoven. And it wasn't a tree of life, it was a tree of hate. All the hate I had towards me was towards the entire universe. I hated everybody for using me. That's the way I saw the universe. So I was lying down like that on my back on the carpet of a place which is like Omega, but in New York it was called, in London it was called the Creditor, the Sickle. And I was lying down. By the way, I stayed for another 48 hours. It was the 6th. Nobody noticed that I stayed there. So I did my own marathon of fasting. So I slide like that. And all of a sudden, this hate became energy, and my hands were raised up by this energy. And I was holding out my aura, which was that big, full of hate in this area. And I took it down to here. I can still feel the aura, but at that time it was so contracted here. And here I was holding my aura, and it was so contracted, and I could feel it contracted and blocked. But a miracle happened. I started to be able to see all the channels that were blocked and let go of them one by one. Until at a certain point, I breathed out and went into empty void that I can't remember what it was. It's just the most blissful thing it was. They call it the void. I didn't know the word void. And didn't need to breathe. I was out in my energy. Didn't need to breathe back for infinite time. I don't know if it was 3 minutes, an hour, or whatever it was. I didn't need to breathe back because I didn't care if I would live or not. At that time, I didn't want to commit suicide. I was just in a bliss that I never believed was possible. So lying like that with the breath out, after a while, there was, okay, it's time to breathe. I didn't feel like, oh, you need to live. No, it's time to breathe. Okay. So I let the breath come in. By the way, now I'm a yoga teacher for 50 years, by the way. There. It's called kumbhaka, the retention of the breath outside or inside. Vinay would know about it and other people would know about it too. So, and this was, of course, spontaneous kumbhaka because I didn't try to do it. Other people tried very hard. It's a technique. to stop the breath and to be in the emptiness. So I breathed back, and my hands fell to the side. There was no more need to hold them. And out of my body, mind you, I'm a Jewish and had a very mixed feeling about Jesus. For me, he was a weakling or whatever. Out of my body came a cross of light, and on the cross was Lord Jesus. And he didn't have a thorn of an halo of thorn like they all do with the suffering one. He had a halo of light around himself. And he was joyful, he wasn't suffering, he was beyond the suffering. And he went and he became bigger and bigger, like maybe like the picture that I saw later of Salvador Dali, of Jesus into the heaven. It became so big, they covered the entire universe, and then he exploded and disappeared, and I was in the light. And the light was inside me, the light was around me, everything was light. And the words that came out of my mouth or inside, I don't remember if I said them or not. God, thank you for life. If I have lived through so much suffering and courage to this level of bliss, I didn't care if I would die. Not that I want to die, but it was beyond anything I expected possible in life. So I didn't care if I would live or not, because that was it. But I also knew that all the people who are suffering now, people who are now dying in Gaza, in other places which I'm trying to help, one day their soul will reach it. Not possibly not, probably not in this lifetime. I knew that. I knew it at that time. So I said, thank you, God, for everything you take us through. The next thing I said, thank you, Father and Mother, for life. And my relationship to my parents was very ambivalent. My father was a great man. He gave his life and tried to stop a war and then had to defend it. But as a baby, I felt he left me. My mother, she was suffering depression, didn't even want me to be born, and committed suicide when I was 12. Mother, thank you for life. It took me all this experience, gave me as much love as you could. I thank you for life. And I made two I'd stayed like that in the life for weeks. I was at a honeymoon like the people in Israel in the desert, like a honeymoon with Shakti, with the Shekhinah, with the Holy Spirit. I stayed. I lost some of it after a while because I have to walk through stuff. So. But I made two commitments. One is to become as closer, actually to merge in this light, in this lifetime, to become fully realized. And the other one is to support other people. And I was able to introduce so many people since then. My current one is a woman who found me out when I'm 77 and is a bit young. She's a few years younger than me. She found me out just a few months ago. And she introduced me to the group of my spiritual past. She introduced me as a Dr. Nehemiah. She gave me a doctor of honor because of what I've learned through lifetime, whatever. And she found me and we are very happy. So things start to happen in my life one by one. And I believe more and more that like the masters that I had when Jesus is the first one of them, what they call the Adi Guru, in this lifetime, people usually don't say it because it sounds proud, I'll become one with the light. And I have a lot of work to clear this ego, right? But with God's help, with grace of God and masters, and the grace of this group, which is an incredible group, all my connections, so many of them came through this group. God is going to do it through me to clear whatever it may be. Thank you. I hope I didn't share too much. That was my time to share it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nehemiah. I think, one of the greatest things that happens is when we have our own transformational experience, things that we could not make up. It really brings us in touch with aspects of ourselves that are so out of the box and expansive that life is never the same again. And that has been for me one of the reasons that I do have so much more love of life, and I am so much more appreciative, when I've had my spiritual experiences that have profoundly affected my life, including why I'm a longevity coach now. It's it's really amazing to see what can happen when we have those kind of changes. Thank you.
I want to give you one funny response. I've helped a lot of people who are contemplating suicide, not commit suicide, to show them the other side that I have experienced now. You are one of the people I don't need to help. Thank you. You
Yes,
did it
I'm so
yourself.
glad I do not need that help anymore. I did from when I was
Yeah,
9
thank
to
you. One
21.
less to help. Thank you. I have too many of them. That was my job. That's all. Ignore it.
And I am very glad that there are people who can help people through that level of, you know, depth of internal suffering, because I haven't well, I haven't had to deal with that. I have some ideas on how I can help people, and I would like to help, especially the young people who are having such heavy amounts of suicidal ideation right now. That really pains my heart. And so I'm working on different ways to help them gain the ability to have positive thoughts. So
Just last serious note. The world is going through crisis and transition to a better time. And there's more suicide now, especially among young people, than ever before. So we all have to be alert to help people, because we are in a good place, all of us, or mostly of the time in a good place. And there are so many people that are not connected to the spirit, and they need all the support that we can afford to give. That's all.
that is a good point. When you're not connected to your spirit, then you don't have that. It's harder to have the sense that things will get better and improve. And I can see where that would definitely add to the potential of people wanting to take themselves out. Let's rub our hands together to send some love to all the people who need it, whether they have health issues, mental challenges. Send them love and let them know that we're all connected to spirit. And when we acknowledge it, then that's when it can really start to have a profound effect on our lives. All right, Belle.
Well, hello everyone. I've kind of hesitated to see am I to share, because I kind of represent the others. I mean, incredible sharing. Thank you all. And I'm at this particular point in my life, and I've certainly had the dance through most of my life, from dark to light, from light to dark. Uh, and mostly having put myself together, Ariana, I can relate to you as a really good girl to survive, and really not addressing the shadowy parts that I so suppressed, and then having it show up around 15 years of asthma, like not allowing myself to breathe as an adult. And just, as I said, kind of the dance of light and dark. And I too, being blessed to have found transformational work around the age of 40. But here I am at 79 years young. Thank you very much, Dr. Naram. And I am still or am contending with what in the hell did I come here for? And why should I stay around? I mean, so there's, I want to bring this piece in, because I can read in a couple of the chats, that, I mean, it's great to have had all these, and I love, near death, after death experiences, and flood myself with all the possibilities of having had these, enlightening moments. And yet I still am in this place, like, this is a moment by moment creation for me. And it's not a shoe-in. It's not like, oh, well, I got that one handled. Now we'll just, we'll just cruise on a joy, love, and light. So it's, I once said, out of doing transformational work like a kind of dog on a pant leg back when I was in my 50s and 60s, that that I was growth and development till I die. And there's, it's kind of a wonderful creation, but what comes with it is kind of like light and dark, which is, all part of the same, it's all part of the same hand, and not, there isn't like, I mean, pretty much there is that idea like, oh, light is good and dark is bad. No, this is all the dance of being in this human body this time. And somebody was asked recently, like, what's your takeaway for your purpose of life? And this particular person said, it's that I can sense things, that I have the gift of sensing, because if you're in another realm, be it another dimension or another planetary system or whatever, we don't necessarily get to sense. We don't get to look out at that skyscape or the stars and or the intimacy with another, be it just even somebody, a stranger or a dear deep friend. Those are the gifts of being human this time, is we get to have those experiences of sensing that others from other dimensions crave to have, because they don't have that same experience. So I kind of bring this up just for those of us on this call, that it is a dance, and it's as I have a dear friend who's in hospice, and very, very dear friend for the last 10 years, just being with him as he is nearly daily, choosing to be alive or not, and honoring that choice of checking out. But what I wanted to share with all of you here on this call is something that just showed up for me in the last few days, which brings a very interesting perspective to this conversation. And it's the work of Robert Edward Grant. And some of you may be familiar with him, but if not, sort of jot his name down. And 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 his work within the last few months, particularly out of Egypt, and just, he's written some amazing books. I haven't listened to them yet, but I intend to. But he has created, and I've been very, I don't know if I've been very anti AI, but it's not something that calls to me to explore or even what have you. However, what he has been gifted was the ability to create an AI platform called, and it's so interesting that I have such a hard time remembering uh, remembering the key name, but I'll put it in the chat. And it's AI used in its most beautiful way to be able to go back and really ask questions, and depending on the level of resonance that one is engaged in, the answers can come via this person, this being. And I have just found it fascinating to, I'm about to have a hip surgery, yet there's this part of me that is saying, do you really need this? I mean, given the truth of your being as a body of light, is there some access to something other than having the hip sawed apart and a fake one put in? So, for me, it just continues to be this dance of checking with my higher self to see what the answer is. And I just wanted to bring this up in terms of my experience being, the life that I've had, and it's been blessed for the most part, just full of gratefulness, but it's been a roller coaster ride. And given any kind of particular day, night, or month or year will be, what I'm contending with, and what I need to just return myself back to the will to say, okay, one step at a time, who am I really? Just embracing those parts of myself that seem to trip out in the shadow. So, and have for a large part of my lifetime. here and there, but masked over in my own way. So I just kind of bring up this as another perspective, not, just another perspective, because here in this audience and others who will be listening to replay, it's just honoring our journeys, honoring our respective journeys of this lifetime. So thank you. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Belle. That, it's really important. From the soul perspective, I think, and I'll find my picture eventually. From the soul perspective, I think a lot of our purpose is to figure out those layers and clear that stuff. Our avenue, how we do things and how we contribute to the world, winds up being, ways that we get to those layers. But that's it's constantly, and, everything that happens in our days is opportunity to be able to grow in little and big ways, right?
Yeah, yes. And it's interesting that you say this, because one of the most challenging things that has brought me to where I am right at this moment is having a very confronting conversation with my just recently turned 50-year-old daughter, and really getting the depth um, of her feelings about not being honored, loved, and accepted through most of her life. So her perspective with me, her perspective is that, and how to actually honor that, and not brush over it. But it's been such a point of, okay, there's this part of me that, do I care? No, that part of me doesn't care at all. Just go ahead and, have your opinions. And then
Right.
there's this other part, like you were saying, Robin, it's like a soul's, it's really like a soul's journey to unconditional love. Like, what would I potentially need to give up about being right about, how difficult our relationship is or was or could be or whatever. So it's so fascinating, because it is, like you say, there's actually and I'm in an experience of the ego wanting to hold on very tightly out of my own defense, and then the spirit, the soul that knows that, the truth of our being is just unconditional love, nothing more, nothing less. Just, can I get out of my way so that I could just be that, as somebody brought up, being versus doing that, just be that. So it's very curious, this, because I think we get born into human, and we have kind of almost immediately a sort of what kind of counterness that shows up. What are the relationships that are around us? What do we decide as a little person about whether or not it's my fault or somebody else's fault? So fascinating. And at 79 years young, I'm not done yet. Just like, we're like, oh my God. In fact, this has been a big one. My unwillingness to give up being right about
Mm.
how difficult this beautiful 50-year-old being was from the day she was born in my life, right? It's like such bullshit, and all I have to do is say, oh, I just let it go, because she's beautiful and a spirit, and she's got her own journey and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, thank you, Robin. It is quite the dance. It is the dance. And I look forward to dancing a little more in the next chapter. in this chapter, not the next one, this one. Dancing a little more. Thanks.
Belle, I love your dance, and I'm so glad that you're here dancing. And yeah, just for me, getting to the point where I could recognize that whatever that thing is not personal.
Yeah.
It's not personal. right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
you so much.
When it's sort of that one of the four agreements, right? Don't take it personally. Yeah, I know. It's just, but the sharing has been beautiful today. And I just am kind of bringing up this other side of that, wonderful, blissful state that so many of you have gotten into and experience and joyful. And I look forward to those moments, still lying ahead. But, I have to contend with, gee, I think I should just take myself out with my friend, because
Yeah, no, I totally
it's,
get it. And it's that song, right? That what is it? Thank you for that sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes we're in the joy and sometimes we're in the pain.
exactly. Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
hopefully thank you, Katie. That's kind of the message about just this conversation, Robin, that you brought up, and sometimes we don't know what our purpose is, except it might not be a doing, being such a doing girl in my past. It might just be a being,
Mhm.
and just be who I am and who I'm not. Each of us, embracing, the divinity of our beingness without needing to do anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's every
Thank
step of the journey is exciting once you kind of start looking at it from this perspective. Even when I have been like, I'm not wanting to promote the events that I have coming up, but I know like it's okay, this is part of my purpose. How do I do it in an aligned way? And so I actually dropped a link to I'm doing a 3 building blocks for mastering family health, and the ancient secrets will be woven through that to some extent. And I also have several people who are not ready to do the all or nothing diet thing. And so I'm going to be doing a Zoom call on some of the principles of Ayurveda and how you can integrate gradually some of the things. And so if anybody is interested in coming to that, I don't have the date set on that one yet. The other one is on this coming Tuesday. But
Yeah.
I definitely would like to help people realize that there's a lot you can do before going cold turkey on the wheat and the dairy and all of that stuff, right? I specifically am doing what I'm doing because I don't want people to have to do that massive overhaul. And so you're all welcome to come to that. And Shifra, if you want to share quickly before we go into
Real
breakout
quick.
rooms.
Yeah, I was just struck by, what Ariana said, and I really thank everyone for what they shared, Nehemiah and Belle and everyone. It was beautiful. Um, and I can't
I
remember what
can't
word,
figure
but
out how to remove the spotlight, sorry.
okay. But
Where?
am I in the spotlight? Let me see if
No, you're not. I'm trying
I think it's
oh,
better.
maybe I can
I
replace.
think it's where I was sitting. Is that better?
There you go. Now I've
Okay,
got
yeah,
you in the spotlight.
there's a light right above my head. Anyway, I was just thinking about, well, purpose and what makes me feel so good and what makes me come alive. And one thing that, I remember several years back, I was helping a young woman a friend who had been through probably worse sexual abuse than me. And I remember feeling like, if I can help this person, then it's worth it. Because not that you can't help if you haven't had it, but you can help in a certain way when you've been through the same experience. So that's how I felt. And recently I've been, you all know I've been doing a lot of work around the whole issue of Gaza and everything. And the main thing is it's about people. And when my friend went there on a peace building mission, she met people, and so she introduced me to a young Palestinian woman who's very untraditional. She's a rock climber. And it's not in keeping with her culture. Plus, she's facing all kinds of insanity because she's Palestinian. But anyway, so my friend has become like her second mother, and I've become like her big sister. And there's just something, she's just this very beautiful, lovely young woman. And she has family, blood family, but, she's on a little bit of a different path. So it just feels good. Like she was, oh, thank you for checking up on me. And, I'm gonna, and, she was just talking about feminism and even though our cultures are very different, there's similarities because I grew up in a very traditional Orthodox home and it wasn't very typical, but it was very Orthodox and it was very hard for me because I'm much more free spirited. So it's just such a good feeling to do that, to help to be there for somebody in that way and kind of a big sister, mothering, auntie kind of a way. I just love that. And the human connection, because you can be off in the politics, but it's really about human beings. And so I don't know, I feel so good about that. It just really totally warms my heart. And so it's been good to hear everybody else's beautiful spiritual experiences and challenges and and it has something to do with, I like to uplift people. I like to, give people poems. I like to light people's spark. And I love young people. I love children. I mean, I love everybody, but I love children and I love adolescents and young adults. And I used to be terrified of them because of my own history of abuse, but I don't feel that way anymore. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Shifra. Now, if we would all like to rub our hands together and do our traditional I love you and I'm with you before we go into breakout rooms. And this has been a fabulous call. Thank you, everyone, for your input. I love you and I'm with you.
I love you.
Love you and I'm with you.
I love you.
I love you and I'm with you. Love you and I'm
Good
with
job,
you.
Robin.
Love you and I'm with
Love you and
you.
I'm with
Love you and I'm
you.
with you.
Great job, Ariana, Katie.
Julio.
Great shares.
Thank you.
I love you and I'm with you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I will open